All right, good morning. Um, Today I wanted to talk about uh, space. We're going to be drawing some space things using basic shapes. And I just want to show a couple of examples that I found online. And I don't know who did all of these, but they're gorgeous. These are all done by different artists. And I just want to look at a couple of things. So this image here is a picture of a small house at night with a vast array of stars. But just look at the shapes of these stars. These are not typical star shapes always. There's a couple in there that I see, like the typical 5 points that you see. But even like in reality, stars are not that shape. But here in this image, these stars are all over. They're across the spectrum of the shapes that they're using to depict a star. And yet it reads as a field of stars. Um, Planets, it's just a circle. It's just a circle. And you fill in the shapes with different hues and different values, and it looks like a planet. And here's another one. I think this is more like fireworks, but this could be like comets or shooting stars, and it would read the same way. Again, these shapes are just abstract. They're all over the place and not typically what you would see. Here's some more planets, and the shapes are just gorgeous. Uh, these are so clean. I love the lines on this one. They're so clean. Let me zoom in a little bit on a couple of these. I know the reference is small for you just in the corner, but uh, these lines, they're so clean, and yet some of these, they have 5 points. Some of them are just circles. Some of them have 6 points or more, and they're just all over the place, and yet it still reads as a star. So I thought that we would just take a couple of these. We're going to draw just a few of them in our time together. I'm using the same pencil brush here, the Swansea pencil from the default Procreate library. And we're just going to draw a couple of things. And we'll start out, I think maybe we'll start out here in the selection menu. If you tap on the select tool down at the bottom, you can change the shape of your selection, and the one that I will use here to draw a planet is just the ellipse shape. And if you start to draw your shape and you tap one finger, here we go, one finger on the screen, you'll see that it keeps your shape as a perfect circle. So then we'll let go, and now we'll just fill this with, I like yellow. Yellow's a good shape. And maybe I will duplicate this, since we'll do a couple of planets, and just bring it over here and keep the uniform scale and just make it a little bit smaller. And then on both of these, I'm going to, actually, I will merge them down just to keep this simple and set alpha lock. And what that is going to help us do, if I change to another color here, I can scribble over here, but it will only draw on the shape that I have. That's what the alpha lock means. It's not going to draw anywhere other than where I have something already, right? So let's see what we're gonna do. We are going to, let's make one of these maybe an ice type planet. So we'll make this a little bit cooler just by scribbling it in. I don't mind so much if some of the yellow shows through. And we'll just have a little bit, we're not going to go crazy on this, we'll just have a little bit of shading here down at the bottom, and maybe some unique shapes. We'll increase this just to make our work a little bit easier. And we're just gonna make some random shapes here on the planet, and maybe grab some different hues of blue. Oh, here we go. Maybe add some spots of color. Here we go. My cat is off to the side. He's judging me for sure. I can feel it. All right, and maybe a little bit of, let's go light purple. I'll add a new layer and do a clipping mask, and we'll set this to multiply. And I'm sure that's going to be a little dark if we go 100%. So let's try at 50 and just see what that does. And we'll start out just by adding some shading here. And you know what I also like to do is add another layer with a clipping mask and switch it to add, and we'll also bring that down to about 50, and that will give us a pretty decent highlight over here. So, and maybe some of these clouds are picking up some of that light too. I'm not sure. But look, it kind of looks like a planet, right? We just scribbled some color in there and it looks like a planet. All right, so this other one over here, we're gonna make it kind of like, I really like, boy, a couple of these. I like this one up at the top with the stripes, and I also like some of these craters with, it almost looks like they're going for like an asteroid belt around the edges. So let's see if we can combine a couple of these ideas and just add, I think the way that I will tackle this is, let's just grab an orange color, and we will put like a basic layer of maybe shading down. We will go back over the top of this with shading over everything, but I want to give this a little bit of texture before I add some of these lines. So I'm gonna go whoosh, and the sound effects help. So if you can make sound effects, that definitely helps your drawing. And then let's get, let's go maybe a red. Ooh, yeah. Whoosh. And let's, I kind of like making these little squiggle marks here. I don't know why, it just kind of, it just adds like a little bit of texture going on there. And I think for the multiply layer, let's try this pink color. Oh yeah, I think that works pretty well. And let's see what happens when we add that to our top layer with the highlight. Yes. Yes, yes, I like that a lot. All right. And that gives us something. So now we've got a couple of planets, but they are on a white background, and space is not white. Let's make it purple. All right, and then we will grab this, maybe switch that to multiply because space needs a little bit of texture, and we're just going to scribble pretty good and give that just a little bit of texture going on here. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It's better to finish rather than to be perfect. Because if you're perfect, you will never finish. And if you finish something, at least you have something. You can always change it later. You can make additions or subtractions or modifications, but make the thing exist first. You can always improve it later. All right, and then on this layer, we can just grab maybe, I like this blue. Let's stick with some blue, and we'll just add some little circles here. And then we're gonna go crazy with some of these star shapes. And we'll add one more here. I think let's do, you know what? Let's be wild and make a comet right over here. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Here we go. And we'll just scribble this in. Just fill it in quickly. It doesn't have to be 100%. In fact, it's okay if some of this texture comes through. It's very, very okay. Ah, I'm dropping my pencil. All right, here we go. There we go. That'll give us something to work with. And I think I saw in one of these references, which one was it? I really liked the way that they did the comets in this one. Let's kind of use that as inspiration a little bit. So we're gonna change this. Let's do this first. Here, we will add green. So we will do alpha lock on this guy. And we will just, can we see this very well? I don't know if we can see this very well. Yeah, that might be all right. And then add something like this. Whoosh, whoosh. So the thing about this image, this sketch here, is just to show, like, don't be so concerned about getting things to look like a photograph. Sometimes, often actually, you can really get away with just the idea of a star or a comet or whatever, and just use a basic shape to communicate that idea. So I will do one more layer at the very top here with a smaller brush, and we will add like our asteroid belt around this planet that we talked about earlier. This is gonna be our, like, a detail layer, and we will just add little small details across the image. And I think I want to add maybe, let's get some lines. Ooh, I really like how they have these little star shapes inside. We'll make ours a little bit different. but I like how they added this little texture. It just gives the comet like a little bit of character. Yeah, look at that. And maybe add some action lines here. Yep. Here we go. Yeah, that's pretty good. And I might do maybe maybe one more across the top of here with a shade of green, and just give it like a little texture. There we go. Yeah, there we go. So we'll call it there, but that's the general idea, is you can use basic shapes to communicate so much. These are just circles and lines and little star shapes, and we have a space scene for a children's book. You can imagine that if you keep going with this and add more circles and more star shapes and comets and spaceships, that you will have a full scene like the images that we used for inspiration here. That's how they did it. They just kept going until they decided, I'm done. So I hope that's helpful. If you have any questions, let me know. If you have suggestions for what we can explore in other videos, let me know. I would love to hear from you, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.